Miyamoto Musashi's principle, do not depend on a partial feeling, strikes at a timeless truth. Uncertainty is poison to decisive living. In battle, hesitation meant death. In life, hesitation means drifting, wasted years, and missed opportunities. To Musashi, moving on anything less than full conviction was worse than not moving at all. The Stoics, centuries earlier, echoed this wisdom: to act with clarity of mind, grounded in reason, never in half-formed impulses. This principle is deceptively simple yet profound. It forces us to confront the danger of kind of believing, of living half-heartedly, moving without clarity, and fooling ourselves that we are committed when in truth we are only dabbling. Why partial feelings are so dangerous. To understand Musashi's warning, imagine stepping into a duel with the thought, I might win. That sliver of doubt is a wedge the enemy can exploit. Your guard will drop, your movements falter, and your strike will hesitate. Victory requires total commitment to the strike, not arrogance but certainty rooted in discipline and preparation. Marcus Aurelius expressed this same idea from the Stoic perspective. If you are doing the right thing, never mind whether you are cold or warm, tired or rested, slandered or praised. What mattered was not the swirl of feelings around the act, but the clear conviction that the act itself was right. Half-heartedness breaks under pressure. A partial feeling in battle is hesitation. In life, it shows up as procrastination, inconsistency, or weak conviction. You say you want to get stronger, but you train only when you feel like it. You claim you value discipline, but you bend when temptation whispers. You talk about pursuing a dream, but hedge with endless distractions. Like a half-formed strike, these half-formed commitments collapse the moment they are tested. The illusion of kind of. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they kind of commit. They kind of want to build discipline, but still indulge their worst impulses. They kind of believe in themselves, but keep a safety net of excuses. They kind of want to achieve something great, but let fear and doubt stop them from going all in. Seneca warned against this lukewarm approach to living. He who is everywhere is nowhere. To spread yourself thin, to dip halfway into everything and fully into nothing, is to ensure mediocrity. A thoughtless attack in Musashi's duel opens you to counterstrike. A thoughtless pursuit in life ensures collapse under pressure, the discipline of clarity. To live without partial feelings requires clarity before commitment. Musashi did not strike wildly. He refined his stance, studied his opponent, and acted only when his decision was whole. Likewise, the Stoics urged testing every impression. Epictetus taught, appearances to the mind are of four kinds. We must learn to distinguish between them. The wise do not act on first feelings. They pause, test, refine, and then act decisively. For us, this means resisting the urge to chase every impulse. When unsure, step back. Ask yourself, am I pursuing this because it is true or because it feels good in the moment? Do I hesitate because of weakness or because the path itself is flawed? Do I act from principle or impulse? This pause sharpens half-formed desires into clarity, and once clarity is forged, action becomes unstoppable. Strength is born from wholeness. Musashi understood that strength is never divided. A warrior who hesitates even slightly is already defeated before the first strike. A craftsman who doubts his work will never master his craft. A man who lives split between yes and maybe is weaker than the one who simply refuses. Strength is born from wholeness, whole conviction, whole effort, whole presence. The Stoics framed this same principle as unity of mind. They taught that the rational soul cannot serve two masters, reason and impulse. If you try to act on both, you fracture yourself. Epictetus made this plain. If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to externals. Do not depend on them. To him, as to Musashi, the only dependable force was the inner command of reason aligned with virtue. Everything else was noise. When you live with partial feelings, you fracture your strength. 1 foot forward, 1 foot backward, your energy bleeds out in hesitation. You burn fuel without moving. But when your heart, reason, and action align in one clear direction, you become unstoppable. Half measures versus whole living. Think about the countless projects, resolutions, and ambitions that begin in a blaze of enthusiasm only to die in quiet neglect. Why? Not because the person lacked ability, but because they depended on partial feeling. They acted out of excitement, not conviction. When the emotion faded, so did the effort. Musashi never trained from passion alone, he trained from necessity. Passion may rise and fall, but conviction does not. Seneca captured this contrast perfectly. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Most waste is the waste of half measures, pursuits that never mattered enough to deserve full effort, yet drained years of half-hearted chasing. This is the tragedy of kind of living. You kind of build a business, but never give yourself fully to it. You kind of pursue virtue, but never let it cut deep enough to change your soul. You kind of commit to relationships, but never risk the vulnerability of giving everything. In the end, you are left with fragments of experience, but no wholeness. The Musashi test, whole strike or no strike. Musashi's life offers a test. Never swing unless it is a whole strike. A half strike not only fails, but invites counterattack. In his famous duel with Sasaki Kojiro, Musashi entered with no hesitation. He arrived late, carved a wooden sword from an oar, and defeated his opponent with one decisive blow. If he had doubted his method, if he had questioned his strange strategy, hesitation would have killed him. But because he had clarity, his strike was whole. Apply this to life. If you choose a path, strike with your whole being. If you enter a discipline, commit to the end. If you pursue mastery, give everything or do not bother. Half strikes in life, dabbling in learning, wavering in discipline, chasing goals with a foot still in comfort, invite defeat. Clarity before conviction. This doesn't mean reckless leaps. Musashi did not strike in blind emotion. He studied the terrain, the timing, the opponent. He paused until clarity was whole. Then he struck without doubt. This is the art we must learn, clarity first, conviction second. The Stoics embodied this in their practice of examining impressions. When an impulse arises, anger, fear, desire, they paused and asked, is this true? Is this useful? Does it serve virtue? Only after this testing did they commit. Musashi would agree. The pause before the strike is not weakness, but preparation. The hesitation he condemned was not caution, but the failure to ever commit. Clarity means weeding out illusion, testing motives, and then acting with unity. How to apply this principle? To practice, do not depend on a partial feeling in modern life. We need disciplines that move us from half-hearted impulses to full conviction. 1. Examine before you commit. Before starting a project, ask, do I believe in this fully, or am I hoping it will fill a void? Many waste years chasing paths they never fully believed in. Like Musashi before a duel, weigh the terrain. If conviction doesn't come, step back. Better to withhold than to strike weakly. 2. Burn the escape routes. Cortez burned his ships to eliminate retreat. Musashi burned his partial feelings the same way. No retreat into hesitation, no excuses. In practice, this means cutting away safety nets that enable half-effort. Delete distractions, commit financially, tell others your vow, force yourself to stand or fall by conviction. 3. Align emotion with reason. Feelings fade, but reason sustains. Musashi was not carried by moods. The Stoics insisted that true action must rest on reason, not passion. To align the two, build habits, morning reflection, journaling, deliberate routines. These habits anchor your actions in principle, not impulse. 4. Act as if failure is death. Musashi fought duels where failure was death. In life, treat your goals the same way, not with reckless fear, but with reverence. If your health fails, you lose everything. If your integrity fails, you lose yourself. Train, act, and live as if the stakes are final. Practical application, living without partial feelings. Musashi's words are not a poetic flourish, they are a blade meant to cut through illusion. To not depend on a partial feeling is to reject every form of half-heartedness that infects our actions. The man who enters life with a kind of commitment is already defeated. A fighter cannot half commit to a strike. A leader cannot half commit to his purpose. A man cannot half commit to himself and expect wholeness in return. Here is how this principle comes alive in the core arenas of our lives. 1. Fitness and health. The battlefield Musashi faced was steel and blood. Ours is slower, quieter, but no less lethal. The man who says, "I kind of want to get in shape," will always find reasons to skip the gym, cut corners on diet, or compromise on sleep. He tells himself that he tried, but his body reflects his partial feelings. The truth is simple. The body does not negotiate with hesitation. Musashi prepared for duels with unwavering practice, forging his body and reflexes into unthinking precision. We must forge our health with the same absolute commitment. Discipline in fitness is not about chasing motivation. It is about creating a standard so absolute that no mood, no excuse, no circumstance can breach it. The Stoics were ruthless on this point. Epictetus warned, "No great thing is created suddenly, but little by continual labor." This is the voice of full conviction. The man who treats health as negotiable dies by slow surrender. The man who makes it non-negotiable transforms. Action. Set a minimum standard you never break. Whether it is walking 2 miles daily, lifting weights 3 times a week, or fasting from sugar altogether, choose and hold the line. Musashi never entered a duel without the certainty of his stance. You should never enter a day without the certainty of your health disciplines. 2. Relationships. The same poison of half-heartedness corrodes human bonds. To kind of commit in love, in friendship, or in loyalty is to plant a seed of betrayal. A bond built on partial feeling cannot withstand conflict, temptation, or time. Musashi chose solitude, but when he entered into dealings, whether with patrons, allies, or rivals, he was absolute in his position. There was no pretense, no double game. The Stoics demanded the same clarity in relationships, honesty, loyalty, and consistency as the backbone of friendship and family. Seneca wrote, "One who is a friend is no friend to half measures. He is the person you can trust to the end." A half-hearted friend is more dangerous than an enemy, for he creates the illusion of support while weakening you from within. A half-hearted lover breeds insecurity and distrust. A half-hearted leader corrodes the trust of those he commands. Action. Audit your relationships. Where you find yourself offering partial feelings, holding back trust, loyalty, or honesty, make the choice. Either step fully into the bond with conviction or step away. It is cowardice to linger half-present. Musashi did not fight halfway. Neither should you love halfway nor lead halfway. 3. Purpose and career. Of all the places partial feelings destroy men, purpose is the most brutal. A man who is uncertain of his mission is like a swordsman who doubts his strike. The moment he feels resistance, he falters. Obstacles are not what defeat us, our hesitation is. Musashi's entire life was proof of absolute conviction to a path. He rejected the security of schools and patrons, choosing instead to walk a road entirely his own. Every duel, every hardship, every scar refined his craft because his commitment was total. He did not dabble in swordsmanship. He lived it until it became indistinguishable from himself. The Stoics demand the same clarity of purpose. Marcus Aurelius exhorted himself daily. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. To live without hesitation is to know your why so deeply that nothing external can uproot it. Action. Write your purpose plainly, not a vague wish like, "I want to be successful," but a blade-sharp conviction. "I will build this business. I will master this craft. I will live as an example of discipline." Revisit it daily. Let it be the compass that cuts through fog. When resistance comes, conviction, not partial feeling, must guide you. 4. Self-belief. The deadliest battlefield is within. A man can be well-trained, loyal, and clear in purpose, but if he kind of believes in himself, he will sabotage at the decisive moment. Doubt is the deepest partial feeling, and it has killed more dreams than failure ever has. Musashi fought over 60 duels undefeated. This was not because he never felt fear or doubt, but because he never allowed those partial feelings to direct his actions. He moved with the calm of one who trusted in his training, his clarity, and his path. Stoicism mirrors this. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Belief is not a fleeting mood. It is a stance taken, reinforced by action. The man who says, "I will try," has already declared his weakness. The man who says, "I will," has already won half the battle. Action, kill the language of hesitation. Eliminate try, maybe, hopefully. Replace them with "I will." Each time you choose the words of conviction, you train your mind to act from strength. Confidence is not waiting for perfect conditions. It is deciding to move forward in spite of conditions. Musashi's principle slices to the core. Hesitation kills, half-heartedness corrodes, partial feelings deceive. The man who lives without partial feelings does not act recklessly. He acts with clarity, with wholeness. The Stoics and Musashi agree. Test your impressions, refine your stance, and when you commit, do so with your full being. The enemy of mastery is not failure but dabbling. The enemy of greatness is not weakness but hesitation. If you are to live with discipline, you must do as Musashi did with his blade. Cut away everything less than absolute conviction.